What's the most baddest thing you've accidentally said in the heat of the moment? I actually said nothing. I was on my motorcycle in traffic, on a wet overpass with short jersey walls. Guy behind me was driving a bit too fast and slammed on his brakes, sliding into me, but no damage as he was going slow enough to touch and push me about 5 feet before finally coming to a stop. The angle had me going straight forward, so I did not fall. Had it been much faster, I would have been thrown over the edge to my death. So obviously I was not happy. I turned off the engine, got off the bike and slowly walked over to the driver that hit me. It's only a few feet, and when he saw me coming to him, he furiously started raising his manual window, so I could just see him struggling to pump the winder. When I got there, I just knocked on his window, pointed at him, and turned around and walked away. He looked terrified. I didn't think about it until later. A guy you just hit in a car wearing a black helmet, with shaded visor, black heavy thick jacket, black heavy riding pants, road crafter jacket and pants, black thick and metal studded gloves, and black leather boots knocks on your window and points at you for being a supreme dumbass. I had no idea. I just wanted to talk to him, be a bit angry, but tell him I was okay, then take a second to verify my bike was okay as well. To an aggressive colleague, I have to repeat myself to my son 20 times a day too. But he's 3 years old. What's your excuse? Got to work one morning. My chosen football team had thrashed my boss's chosen team. I gave him a load of shit for it, humorously of course. My boss is great. He gave me some shit back and told me to do a stock take on all items we have beginning with the letter C. I pointed at him and said, "1." Luckily, he took it the correct way and laughed a lot. There's no way you're this much of an asshole naturally. You must go home and practice. I said this to a coworker who was throwing a fit and bullying a quieter coworker because he was pissed off. He had a habit of just being a giant douche anytime things didn't go his way. This comment pissed him off so much he just stormed into his office and stayed there the rest of the day. Win for the rest of us. This was back in my junior year of college. At the beginning of the semester, I was introducing myself to my very intimidating biochemistry professor. Guy was a genius, but also a hard-ass. Students were all terrified to ask him questions because he was known for grilling people, and if they hadn't made enough effort beforehand, he'd send them out of his office to learn on their own. As I walked into his office, he was sorting through some boxes and made a really sarcastic comment regarding stuffing me in the box and shipping it off somewhere. He looked up for my response and I just blurted out without thinking I wouldn't mind going somewhere nice. Dude laughed so hard it actually startled me a little. We got along pretty well for the remainder of the semester, so it all worked out really well. It's amazing what a little laughter can do to ease tension. One time I popped the blood vessels in my eye and had blood dripping down my face, and some kid says, "Hey man, you're bleeding," to which I responded, "Shit, cold have fooled me." Then I ducked it up by touching my face and seeing the blood and immediately going, "Oh shit, guess you were right." It wasn't something I said, but did. I'm a teacher, and one of my students kept tossing a little toy up and down during my lesson, which was distracting her classmates. They were all gathered on the carpet. After giving her a few reminders, etc., I wasn't even thinking and just snatched the toy right out of the air. Also didn't even stop teaching, although all the kids went off, and I felt like a badass. Of course I returned the toy to her later that day. Love that kid. In middle school I had a class simply called reading class that was taught by a conservative Christian lady. I was reading Jurassic Park and the teacher asked to see my book. I compiled like a good student. The next day she gave it back and said, "You can no longer read this book in this class because they use God's name in vain." I looked at her square in the eye and replied, "Wouldn't you cuss if dinosaurs were chasing after you?" About 25 years ago, I was in grade 9 and my parents bought me a pair of Air Maximum. I'm a female, but I had picked a pair of Air Maximum that were supposed to be for males because I preferred the color of the shoes. I was super pumped to get those shoes. We didn't have lots of money and it was a pretty extravagant purchase. Anyway, I was at our local shopping center and I ran into a group of guys I went to high school with. They were a real bunch of a-holes that thrived on dumping on other people. One of the guys had on the same pair of shoes and said to me, "Do you know you're wearing men's shoes?" To which I quickly replied, "Then why the duck are you wearing them?" The other guys pissed themselves laughing and it still stands out in my mind after all these years. Respect should be earned, not given. To some old lady at an extended family gathering. She was saying some mean stuff about the homeless where she lived, and I told her how inconsiderate she was. Then she told me to respect her and not rebut her. I was the lawyer in this criminal case arising out the Standing Rock events. That morning, some Lakota people had given us this traditional blessing to wish us well for the trial, and there were 5 to 7 activists sitting in the courtroom to watch and support us. It happened that there was a certain digital document that I needed before the jury got back from a break, and we didn't know just when the break would be over. I remember turning to the supporters holding up a thumb drive and telling them exactly what I needed from the office across the street and how to get it. I held out the thumb drive and with all the intensity of an ancient general sending his troops into battle said, "Fastest runner, go now." This tiny little young woman grabbed the thumb drive and hauled ass. She got back before the jury returned. At university, we have to present our senior projects in front of the whole department. Stage fright sucks and everyone else had a more interesting project. In my opinion, the baddest moment was that my name was misprinted on the schedule and I got welcomed to the stage under the wrong name. The first thing I did was point to my real name on my presentation and say that's how my real name is spelled. It's just pronounced weird. A bunch of people laughed and I got commended by a few people for adding humor to the driest 3 hours of the year. Had an older lady road rage me. Long story short, I pulled into a parallel space in front of the cop shop and she ascended me going 30, but she wasn't done. She backed out, drove up the street, turned around and then smashed into me head on, screeching the entire time. The officers came out in time to see her smash me a second time. I got out all shaky legged, wide-eyed and scattered. A cop came and helped me get up the curb, while another was pulling the woman out of her vehicle. She was screaming about young people being bad drivers, screaming at me being a disrespecting millennial. I replied, "Madam, I may be a millennial, but at least I won't be in jail for child endangerment, you musty bag of skin." She didn't realize my 4-year-old was in the car. The cop busted up laughing as she was screeching about my foul language. I went in for the dirty word kill, calling her a slimy cumsock, a cobwebbed old duckball, whatever I could think of. The cop admonished me, but was still chuckling. I was pretty sure this lady was purple, she was so angry. I went to her court date. She lost her license permanently, already had 10 points, had to do 80 hours of anger management, 120 hours of community service, and was credited for 3 days in jail. She was 84. At work, when in a somewhat heated discussion of why things kept going wrong at a small company, upper management said something to the effect, "Why does this keep happening? It's idiot proof," and I replied, "We need to stop hiring new idiots to test if that's true." I was working it for a company when Network Solutions had a massive DNS outage. My manager, GM of the company, smart but not it, asked me what was wrong besides DNS on the host side. My response was, DNS acts like a phone book, looking up our web address and directing it to the correct place. The phone book is on fire. I had a surgery, and when I woke up, the nurse was really cute, so I started flirting with her with no success. I had a second surgery, and when I woke up, it was the same cute nurse. My first words to her were, "How many surgeries do I have to have before I get your phone number? We've been married 8 years now." The first day camping at a 2016 music festival, I headed off with a 4-gallon jug to get water. A girl who was with our group, who I'd never met before, asked if I needed help. I responded, "No, but I'd sure love some company. We are getting married this fall." I was the nerdy, 5-foot tall shy girl, and constantly got paired with struggling, misbehaving kids to help them. On this occasion, it was two popular guys in English class. One was your typical 2000 comic book jock. The other was a class clown who just didn't know when to stop. Together, they unanimously agreed to do shit all, making fun of our classmates, while I made the world's ugliest word cloud. I failed art class y'all, so that's no joke. I guess I had an epiphany, because for the first time in my 15 years of life, I decided, duck this shit, and went to tell the teacher they're being lizard kids and I'd rather just do it solo. It took a hot minute before Jaquesta realized I'd even left, and when he pointed it out, the jock stood up looking ready to hulk out of his laureators, and the jock said, "What are you tattling on us for? It's not like we've done anything." And I replied, "Yeah, that's kind of the point," and just walked out of the dead silent class. Because I was so used to being bullied I fully expected him to yeet a chair at me, but apparently I just looked like a badass, which is accidental street cred my nerdy ass was 100% eager to roll with. I was pretty young, maybe 7 or 8, and we were helping to dig trenches to install sprinklers at the sports complex our community uses. My dad left me to dig a line, showed me how to do it, how wide it needed to be, how deep he wanted it, and so I started digging. I'm minding my own business doing what I was told when this lady, by today's standards, clearly a Karen, walking by with a stroller says, "Little boy, you need to put that shovel down." I was infuriated, because even at that age I knew she was wrong to tell me that. I said BTCH please, and just kept on digging. Her jaw hit the cement and she went and talked to my dad who was another 100 yards out of her way. He effectively told her the same thing. He never got mad at me for swearing. Savage. Note among gamers to farm memes, to do something repeatedly in order to close in on a set goal. For instance, farming gold would mean doing a certain activity over and over until you gathered enough gold. I was playing 5v5 League of Legends with 9 friends, and when one of my teammates gave me some flack for not farming enough gold from minions I responded with "I farm players," and by sheer luck immediately proceeded to kill the entire enemy team on my own, and won the game. The 5 enemy friends joined my team's voice communication channel and 9 people were euphoric and losing their shit over what just happened. Especially when my 4 teammates told the other 5 of my response. I peaked then and there. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe,